say she won't let me.
You know, if you were a rock star in the 1960s, you had a lot of opportunities to have a good time.
Yes, everyone wants to be around you, whether it's for partying, hanging out, or even, with the groupies.
Yes, and the Beatles were big womanizers, especially in the early days. Now, just to be clear, we're not condoning philandering or passing judgment on anybody.
No, of course not.
We're just going to tell some stories, stuff that everyone in the band has owned up to.
Well, and it's such a fascinating contrast, isn't it? I mean, we have this image burned into our brains.
The mop tops.
The four cheeky lads in the matching suits, bowing together perfectly.
Yeah, singing All You Need Is Love.
Exactly. This huge global message of peace and holding hands and universal affection.
It's the brand. It was the perfect brand. Mm-hmm. Safe, happy. You could bring them home to your parents.
But if you actually pull back that curtain just a little bit, the reality on the road was, it was something else entirely.
They needed a lot more than love to get through a tour, that's for sure. They needed alibi generators.
Oh, highly creative alibi generators. And probably a full-time logistics manager just for their romantic entanglements.
It's just that incredible difference between the legend we bought into and the actual men living these lives. I mean, they didn't just conquer the charts.
No, they were navigating a romantic world that was, frankly, chaotic and sometimes pretty predatory.
You used an analogy before that I think is perfect. They treated fidelity like a guitar pedal.
Yeah, like an effect. Something you can stomp on when you need a certain sound, maybe for a photo op with the wife.
Right.
But then you just, toggle it off when the mood strikes or the after party starts.
We're not just talking about the typical rock star gets groupies thing. I mean, that happened, of course.
Of course. But this was on a totally different scale. It wasn't just temptation knocking on the door. From the very, very beginning, even before they were famous.
Right, from the start.
They were living in an environment where boundaries they didn't really exist.
Which kind of brings us to the big question we want to get into today. Mm-hmm. We know they all, indulged. But who actually takes the crown? Who was the biggest womanizer in the group?
You'd think the obvious answer would be John, right?
Mm-hmm.
The rebel.
Yeah.
Or maybe Paul, the cute one.
Charmer.
Yeah, the one with the dew eyes. But it's a lot more complicated than that.
It is. The answer might just surprise you. It might be the quiet one.
Who, as we're about to find out, was maybe not so quiet behind the scenes.
So to understand any of this, we have to go back to the beginning. We have to go to their education.
The Rock and Roll University.
You have to talk about Hamburg.
The University of Sin.
To really get a handle on this, you have to try and visualize the Reeperbahn district in Hamburg.
And we're not talking about the tourist-friendly version you might see today.
No, this is 1960. This place was the absolute underbelly of the city. It was the red light district. It was raw. It was dirty.
It was dangerous. I mean, this was a place run by gangsters. The police didn't go there unless they absolutely had to.
It was a port city, so it was full of sailors coming off ships looking for basically two things.
A fight and a woman.
Exactly. And the Beatles were the house band for all of that. They were the soundtrack to this ecosystem.
They weren't playing in nice concert halls. They were playing in strip clubs. The Indra, the Kaiser Keller.
And the stage was sometimes just, a few wooden planks in a corner.
Oh, all sorts of illicit business was happening just feet away from them. And they're playing these marathon sets. 8 hours a night sometimes.
Fueled by what? Cheap German beer and Preludin?
Prellies. The amphetamines they took just to stay awake, to keep going.
And surrounded constantly by sex workers. I think that's the context that a lot of people miss.
Oh, it's crucial.
They were teenagers. They were basically kids thrown into this world where sex was a transaction. It was a commodity.
It wasn't hidden or secret. It was just on the menu, like the beer.
And then you have to look at where they were living. This is maybe the most important part for understanding their psychology.
The Bambikino.
It sounds so cute, doesn't it? Like a Disney film.
It was a complete and total nightmare. It was a working cinema.
Right.
And their apartment was a tiny windowless storeroom directly behind the screen.
A concrete box, basically. No heat, no shower.
And, crucially, no toilet.
They were watching in the urinals of the public restroom next door. But it's not even the physical squalor.
No, it's the total lack of boundaries. Think about what that does to your head.
You're 19 years old. You're sleeping in bunk beds with 3 other guys.
There is zero privacy. Zero. So if one of them brings a girl back...
everybody's there. Everyone is part of it, whether they want to be or not.
It completely erodes that polite, British working class sense of propriety. You can't have secrets in a concrete box.
And I think that's where they learned to see sex as a communal activity.
A resource.
Yeah.
Like sharing cigarettes or the Prellies.
Yeah.
It was just something to consume to get through the night.
John Lennon talked about this. He said they learned more on those nights in Germany than they ever did in a classroom.
He called it their PhD in how to be a rock star.
It was a trial by fire, and Pete Best, the drummer at the time, he's talked about this.
He's been very open about it.
He said that trysts were happening in that same tiny room while the other guys were trying to sleep just feet away.
Or even while they were still out performing. I mean, can you imagine?
The lines are just completely gone. Any sense of modesty, of privacy, it's just obliterated.
And that's where that psychological shift really cements itself. They're young, they're away from home, they have this new power on stage, and they start seeing women as conquests. Fidelity becomes this optional idea. It's not a rule.
It set the precedent for everything that came after. They learned that behavior in that pressure cooker, so when they suddenly became the most famous people on Earth,
they didn't unlearn it. It just got magnified massively.
Which takes us right into the next phase. The peak of the madness, from about 63 to 66.
The Satyricon years, that's what John called it.
And he was referencing the Fellini film, which is basically just about Roman orgies.
Right. And John was not a man who understated his own life. So if he's making that comparison, you know it was wild.
So let's look at the logistics of it. In Hamburg, they kind of had to go out and find it.
Or at least invite it back to their little dungeon.
By 1964, temptation wasn't just knocking. It was breaking down the hotel room door.
Literally. The stories of fan behavior from that time they're just insane. We all know about the screaming.
Yeah.
But the hotel sieges were a whole other level. Girls hiding in laundry baskets.
Stowing away on room service carts, anything to get onto the floor where the Beatles were staying.
It was a constant siege. And if you're 22 years old and you have thousands of women throwing themselves at you.
Saying no would take the discipline of a monk.
And let's be honest, they were not monks.
Not even close. Mischievous choir boys, maybe?
Maybe. And they had an entire infrastructure to help them. We have to talk about the roadies.
Neil Aspinall and Mal Evans.
The gatekeepers. Their job was to keep the band safe, but also to keep them entertained.
John was very blunt about it later. He described their hotel suites on tour.
His language was very colorful.
He said the rooms were just stocked with junk.
And usually a few off-duty policemen for good measure, just to keep things under control.
It paints a very clear picture, doesn't it? This wasn't romantic. It was consumption. It was a perk of the job.
And it wasn't always the fans initiating it either, which is a really dark side to it.
Right. The journalist Larry Kane, who toured with them.
And he was a straight-laced guy. He was not part of that world.
And he was shocked by what he saw. He wrote about seeing stage mothers
procuring their own young daughters for the band.
That's the level of hysteria we're talking about. The world's moral compass just went haywire whenever they came to town.
It was a buffet, and they had very healthy appetites.
But in the middle of all that chaos, there were some more consistent figures.
Yes. We should talk about the Apple Scruffs.
Now, this is a different kind of fan dynamic.
Totally different. These weren't the girls fainting in the stadiums. These were the hardcore devotees.
Fandom as a full-time job.
Exactly. They would wait outside Abbey Road studios or the Apple offices for hours, days sometimes, rain or shine.
Just to get a glimpse.
They became part of the scenery. The band all knew them by name.
And there was one in particular, Carol Bedford. Her story is interesting because it shows it wasn't always just a fleeting encounter.
Right. She wrote a book about her experiences.
Yeah.
And she said that George Harrison, of all people,
the quiet one,
took her home one night.
And it wasn't just a physical thing, according to her. She said he actually confided in her.
He talked to her about his marriage to Patty Boyd being in trouble. It's this bizarre intimacy, isn't it? The fan becomes the secret keeper because the star is so isolated from real life.
He even wrote a song about them, Apple Scruffs, on his first solo album, a tribute to their dedication.
It just shows how blurred those lines between fan and friend and lover really were for them.
Okay, so let's start drilling down into the individuals. We have to start with the guy who was arguably the pack leader, and definitely the most honest about his own flaws.
John Lennon.
The honest rogue.
He's such a complicated case. He would tell you exactly what his faults were, but that didn't make them any less painful for the people in his life.
And he was the first to get married to Cynthia Powell back in '62.
It was a very rushed marriage.
She was pregnant with Julian, and from the moment they were married, it seems like John treated it like a secret he was trying to keep even from himself.
When you read Cynthia's books, it's just heartbreaking. She talks about feeling completely abandoned, totally humiliated.
She's at home raising their son, and she has to keep the marriage a secret because Brian Epstein thought it would ruin the band's image.
While John is out, conquering the world and everything in it.
And here's the great paradox with John. He was pathologically jealous.
Oh, incredibly so. Possessive.
He demanded absolute 100% loyalty from Cynthia.
While he was breaking the rules constantly, every single day, it's that classic double standard. He needed the security of a wife at home, but he demanded the freedom of a bachelor on the road.
Cynthia had a really insightful take on it years later. She said it was all about his insecurity.
The adulation, the conquests.
Yeah.
It was all just to prop up his own fragile ego. She said Beatlemania basically just consumed their marriage.
But it wasn't all just nameless one-night stands. There were deeper connections.
Yes, there was one in particular that gets overlooked a lot because it doesn't fit the rock and roll narrative.
Alma Cogan.
Alma Cogan was a huge star in Britain in the 1950s. She was the generation just before them. Very sophisticated, very glamorous.
Older than him.
Right. And John was apparently completely infatuated with her. She was a refuge for him, a place to escape the chaos.
It wasn't the frantic hotel room scene. It was quiet. It was discreet.
By all accounts, it was a very deep, very real connection. And when she died suddenly from cancer in 1966, John was just devastated.
It shows he was looking for more than just sex. He was looking for a connection.
He just seemed incapable of finding that and maintaining a monogamous relationship at the same time.
Which brings us, of course, to the Yoko years, which was not a clean transition.
No, there was quite a bit of overlap there with Cynthia.
And even after he was with Yoko, we have the famous Lost Weekend.
The Lost Weekend that lasted for 18 months.
A very long weekend.
This is the mid-70s. John and Yoko separate, and he goes off to L.A. with their personal assistant, May Pang.
But here's the twist that is just so quintessentially John and Yoko.
Yoko set it up.
She orchestrated the whole affair.
Her logic, as she explained it later, was that she needed a break from him. She knew he was going to stray anyway.
So better the devil you know.
Exactly. Better he's with someone she knows, someone she can, in a way, control.
And she did control it. May Pang said Yoko would call them 10, 15 times a day.
Just checking in, monitoring her husband's affair.
It's just bizarre.
And even after the Lost Weekend officially ended and John went back to Yoko and started his house husband phase.
May Pang claims it never really stopped. She said they continued to have phone intimacies right up until he died in 1980.
He was just a complicated man. But you do have to give him this. He was honest about it.
He never pretended to be a saint in those later years?
No, he flat out told the interviewer, Tom Snyder, that the main reason he picked up a guitar in the first place was for the birds.
He admitted he was a hitter and a womanizer. It's dark, but it's candid.
Which is more than you can say, perhaps, for our next subject.
Let's talk about Paul McCartney.
The cute one. The diplomat.
Paul had a completely different public persona. He was the charming one. The PR genius.
The one you could take home to meet your mother. But his private life in the 60s was just as chaotic as John's. He was just better at hiding it.
For most of that period, he was in a very high-profile relationship with the actress Jane Asher.
The beautiful Jane Asher. And Paul was actually living in her parents' house in London.
Can you imagine he's writing Yesterday on the family piano in the basement?
Living in the attic room, playing the part of the perfect, respectable fiancé.
But the reality was a constant game of hide and seek. He was sneaking around, having affairs, and trying to keep it all a secret from Jane and her very proper family.
But you can only play that game for so long. And the way it ended for them, it's like something out of a movie.
Paul was used to being in control of the narrative, but he completely misjudged Jane.
Oh, he underestimated her badly. So the scene is this. Paul gets caught in his own bed with an American writer named Francie Schwartz.
And Jane Asher walks in on them.
Ouch. There's no talking your way out of that.
No, that is a game over situation.
So the tension is at a breaking point. A few weeks later, Jane is scheduled to appear on a popular BBC chat show, D-Time.
And Paul is at home, watching on television, probably expecting her to, keep up appearances, be the good girlfriend.
Protect the image. Instead, she sits down, looks the host in the eye, and drops a bomb on live national television.
She says calmly, I haven't broken it off, but it is finished.
It is finished. He found out he was dumped the same way the rest of the country did.
It is the ultimate power move. She completely took control away from him.
It's maybe the only time in the 60s that Paul McCartney completely lost control of his own PR.
And then there were other claims. a notorious groupie known as Susie Thunder.
Right. She claimed she had bagged all 4 of them and that she'd been with Paul even after he married Linda.
Which brings us to Paul's great redemption arc, because out of all of them, he's the one who made the most dramatic change.
It's the sharpest U-turn in rock and roll history. He meets Linda Eastman.
And it's like a switch flips. The playboy is just gone.
He becomes a completely devoted one-woman man for nearly 30 years until she passed away.
He said they only spent about a week apart in all that time, and that was only because he was briefly in jail in Japan.
It's a remarkable transformation. A stark contrast to John's constant searching, and an even starker contrast to our next Beatle.
The dark horse.
George Harrison.
The quiet one. The spiritual one.
And, as it turns out, the busiest one.
George is the ultimate contradiction in all of this. Here's the man who's introducing everyone to meditation, to Eastern religion.
Chanting Hare Krishna, talking about shedding material desires and ego.
And at the same time, he was operating a romantic schedule that was just breathtakingly complex.
He was the quiet conqueror.
There's a profound irony in singing My Sweet Lord with one breath.
And then behaving the way he did with the next.
I mean, we have to go straight to the most shocking example. The Maureen Starkey scandal.
This is the one that goes beyond just cheating. This is a deep betrayal within the inner circle.
Maureen Starkey was Ringo Starr's wife.
His bandmate, his friend, the drummer.
And George starts an affair with her. The story that always gets told is how Ringo found out.
The cigarettes.
Right. Ringo supposedly saw Maureen smoking Marlboros, which were George's brand, not hers. It feels a little too perfect, doesn't it? A bit too cinematic.
I think so. I suspect Ringo knew something was wrong long before that. You don't live in each other's pockets for a decade and not feel that kind of shift.
But maybe that was just the piece of undeniable proof he couldn't ignore anymore.
And George's reaction when he was confronted, that's the most telling part. He didn't seem to feel any guilt.
No remorse at all.
His attitude was basically, well, I love you, Ringo, and I love Maureen, so what's the problem?
It's that detachment again. It's like he intellectualized it so much that it stopped being a betrayal in his own mind.
John Lennon was apparently furious. He called it virtual incest. There's a code, and George just blew right past it.
And his poor wife, Pattie Boyd, had to live with this constantly. She tells a story about being at a party.
And George is openly, shamelessly flirting with a French woman all night, right in front of her.
And when Pattie finally asks him where he's going,
he just says, completely calmly, I'm going to her room. Just like that. Like he was announcing he was going to get another drink.
The audacity is just off the charts.
And he used his spirituality as a cover. He would disappear for days on end, saying he was meditating or going to the Krishna temple.
Sometimes he was, but other times it was just an alibi.
He even snuck women into Friar Park, their enormous mansion, while Pattie was in another part of the house.
And then, of course, you have the famous love triangle with his best friend, Eric Clapton.
Clapton falls madly in love with Pattie. He writes Layla for her.
But what people forget is that George had already effectively destroyed that marriage with his own behavior long before Clapton made his move.
Exactly. And George's reaction to it all. Years later, someone asked him about it.
And what did he say?
He just shrugged and said, we shared the same wife.
Like they shared a guitar.
It's that same weird emotional disconnect.
Yeah.
As if people were just experiences passing through his life.
So that leaves us with one Beatle left. Ringo.
Good old Ringo.
The drummer.
If we're giving out awards, I think Ringo gets the least worst award. I think that's fair. He married Maureen pretty early in 1965. And look, he wasn't a perfect angel.
No.
But his main struggles were with alcohol, not with being a serial philanderer. His focus seemed to be more on the party itself, not the conquests.
You just wanted to have a good time, have a laugh.
Yeah, he didn't seem to have that same predatory energy the others sometimes had. And eventually he found real stability with Barbara Bach.
So if we're going to tally the final scoreboard here, if we're going to actually declare a winner in this competition.
Okay. Let's break it down by category. First up, longevity. Who was the most consistent?
That has to be George. From Hamburg right through to the end of his first marriage, he never really took a break.
Agreed. No Linda moment for him. Okay, next category, the humiliation factor. Who had the most embarrassing public fallout?
That's Paul, hands down.
Oh, absolutely. Getting caught in bed and then dumped on live television, that's a major loss.
Okay, category 3, the betrayal bonus. The most shocking act.
George again, for sleeping with his drummer's wife. That breaks every code in the book.
And finally, the redemption arc.
Paul, no question. He went from being a secret playboy to the model of a devoted husband.
So when you add it all up, the winner, if you can call it that.
It has to be George Harrison.
I agree. The quiet one takes the title.
He didn't make a big show of it. He didn't write songs about it or confess in interviews like John. He just quietly and efficiently outwomanized everyone.
It's always the quiet ones you have to watch.
And the irony is just so thick, isn't it? The one who was supposedly the most spiritually evolved,
The one seeking enlightenment.
was, in his earthly actions, the least enlightened of all of them when it came to how he treated people.
It's a powerful reminder that you can talk the talk.
But walking the walk is a whole other journey. And it really does reflect the time, the casual sexism of the 60s.
Oh, for sure.
Women were seen as perks, as distractions, as muses, but very rarely as equals.
It seems that for some people, inner peace only arrives after you've completely exhausted all the outer chaos.
And George Harrison certainly gave it his best shot.
Well, thanks for joining us today. Whenever you feel like knowing more about the Beatles, visit us at BeatlesRewind.com. It's the Beatles, all day, every day, 8 days a week. Cass, we'll do it again tomorrow.
All right. Be here with bells on. See you then.
Until next time, when you listen.
Your mind conducts its own symphony.